Hello and welcome to our special edition of the CFL Fans in the USA podcast. I'm Rick Crabb, and once again joining us is the founder and administrator of the CFL Fans in the USA Facebook group, Mr. Phil Hall. Phil, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you, man. I just want to also say a special shout out to the people up in Canada. Happy Canada Day. And also the great people in America. Happy 4th of July. We're celebrating 250. So it's a celebration for all of us in North America.
Absolutely. It's a lot to celebrate, and as you said, for America, it's a special occasion. Not only the celebration of our independence, but it's the 250th celebration of that. And that's why I wanted to do this special edition, Phil, because there was a special time in American sports history and CFL sports history where the CFL expanded into Canada and played through the years of 1993 and 95 with 7 teams. One of them being the only non-Canadian based team to win a Grey Cup, which were the 1995 Baltimore Stallions. Included with this, I managed to get an interview a few weeks ago with Mr. Ron Snyder. Folks, there is an isolated clip of the interview itself if you wanted to listen to that yourself. But I think you will also want to listen to it on here because Phil and I are going to spit a lot of knowledge and a lot of history in this particular episode as well. So let's get right to it. Let's get to my interview with Ron Snyder right now. A distinguished guest. He did 2 projects regarding the Baltimore Stallions. His book was called The Brief Brilliant History of the CFL Champion Franchise, and his documentary movie was called The Baltimore Stallions Charm City Forgotten Champions. Please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Ron Snyder.
Thank you for having me today. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, thank you as well, Ron, and I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. All right, I'll ask you the question again. You've written about several other topics in Baltimore sports history, but this particular one, it's hard to believe it was over 30 years ago, and it's hard to believe that there are actually grown adults who were either very young or weren't alive when this happened with the Stallions, the brief time they were here. Tell us how you decided to do a documentary, both book-wise and film-wise, regarding the team.
Well, I'm a lifelong Baltimore resident. I was 6 years old when the Colts left in '84. I was 18 when the Ravens arrived in '96. So I went my whole childhood without an NFL team to root for of our own. The first professional football team that I had that I could truly claim was ours was the CFL Stallions. And it was just an amazing 2 years. Anyone that remembers it, anyone that looks back on it, reads my book, watches the movie. I mean, this was a team that was in existence for 2 years, went to the Grey Cup twice, won it in '95, had the best record in CFL history, arguably the best team in CFL history, and then they just disappear, right? The Ravens or the Browns moved to Baltimore, become the Ravens, and there just wasn't a place for a CFL team here in Baltimore. And my career, I spent more than 20 years as a journalist in newspapers, digital outlets, always looking for amazing stories. And this story is just a pure sports story for anyone that you don't even have to be a CFL fan to appreciate what this story had. It had triumph, it had agony, it had emotion, it had success, it had failure. It had characters. It had a David versus Goliath aspect to it with Baltimore against the NFL. And it's just a story that I think resonates with people in Baltimore. That, this was a blue-collar team for a blue-collar city. And we just connected with this team. And I always felt like they never had the opportunity to have their story told. And that's why I wanted to do it.
Right. And how it came about at the beginning, it was interesting. It was, as Bruce Cunningham and Spiros and other folks that you interviewed in the film commented, it was several events coming together. You had the expansion bid, to the NFL. We were rejected, of course, by Charlotte and Jacksonville, and then you had the Orioles and Major League Baseball on strike that year too. So it was like for when Mr. Spirits brought the team over, it seemed like not only they may have been your first professional football team to watch, they were the only professional sports in Baltimore because we didn't have NBA. We may have had maybe 1 or 2 seasons of Bandits hockey then, but that's about it. I mean, it seemed like a lot of things came together, and then as you mentioned, the fight over whether or not they could use the name Colts, and of course, the NFL Colts went to court and got that taken away from us, and that probably spurred the fans on even more. It's like, okay, you won't even give us a team, and now you can't even let us call the team what we want in another league? Come on, so I think they're...
Yeah, It was a perfect storm. I mean, like I said, I don't know if what they did could have been done at any other point before or after in Baltimore sports history. Again, we had the NFL expansion that went to Charlotte and Jacksonville. Again, I think we kind of understood Charlotte, but as Bruce Cunningham has said many times, Jacksonville kind of pissed us off. We thought we were going to get a team. The late Paul Tagliabue famously said maybe we should take the money for a stadium and build a museum. And that really angered all of us, like saying, we're the team, we're the city that put the NFL on the map in 1958 with the greatest game ever played in the 58 championship game between the Colts and the Giants. We're the reason that the NFL is what it is today. Our team was taken from us. We've had other teams teased coming to Baltimore. We lost out on expansion. And at the same time, the CFL was going through some financial hardships and decided that a way to kind of alleviate those financial hardships was to expand in the U.S. And they had added Sacramento the year before when a team from the old World League of American Football, and then Baltimore came on, and Mr. Spirits was going to call them the Baltimore CFL Colts, like you mentioned. And then the NFL, again, right before the preseason started, said, won in court and basically said you can't name them the Colts. And they played that first year without a name. And, it really became lead story. Again, from a PR perspective, you couldn't ask for better media exposure. I mean, it was the lead story on ESPN, on the New York Times, the Washington Post. And again, like you said, baseball was non-existent because of the strike. So it was really the only game in town. And, when I tell people there was 40,000 fans, in 94 to see Canadian football in Baltimore, they just, you don't really understand that. It's one of the reasons it took a long time for me to actually sell the book. Was because people just didn't really understand exactly what this was. So there was a Canadian football team here that lasted 2 years, but it was so much more than that. This was a decade of frustration of losing out to professional football. It was finally getting a team to call our own, only for the NFL again to say you can't name the team what you want to name them. And we just embraced this team, and on top of that, they were good. I mean, I think that's something that doesn't happen with expansion teams. If this was the Las Vegas Posse, or the team from Birmingham, or the Shreveport Pirates, or any of those other teams that really didn't connect with their fans, I'm not sure. There's no book, there's no documentary. They're just a footnote in Baltimore sports history. And the Stallions, for that first year, the Baltimore CFLers were much more than that.
Yeah, and they did it. It seemed like they didn't want to just be an expansion team. They wanted to still have some connections to the CFL. That's why they got Don Matthews. They got players like Tracy Ham, who were experienced and successful in the league previously. And I think that had a big hand to do with it too. Now, one point that was interesting, when you interviewed John Zeman, who's the leader of the Baltimore Marching Ravens, back then the Baltimore Colts marching band, one thing he pointed out is it had people who hadn't seen professional football in a long time, or if ever, for younger generations, it taught them how to cheer again. It taught them how to make noise when Baltimore was on defense. It taught them to be quiet so that the Baltimore quarterback can, call the plays, that kind of. And what I additionally liked about the fact that it was the CFL, they had different rules, and you had to learn those rules as you go along. That was kind of the fun of it. I remember the preseason game against Winnipeg. I think they went into overtime, and Winnipeg scored first, and a lot of people thought it was like NFL rules where it was sudden death overtime. But then, my father and I remember we were getting ready to leave. It's like, okay, I guess the game's over. And then hear the announcer say, so-and-so to receive for Baltimore. And like, what? They're still playing? And then come to find out, they do it kind of like old World Cup rules where it's just a period. They play a whole period no matter what, and then whoever scores wins. So I thought that was interesting then.
Yeah, I mean, and again, remember, this was before the internet, so you didn't have the ability to Google CFL rules. You had to, you had to find the rules. You had to learn the rules, and learn the different offenses. How many players? 12 players on the field. The 55-yard line, the longer field. The rules with motion and things along those lines. It is a unique game. It's a unique brand of football. I mean, a lot of the elements you see in today's spread options and all that, all those motion offenses that we see today, can trace back at least part of it to concepts in the CFL.
Sure. Especially today, I mean, like here with Baltimore, we have Lamar Jackson. And it's one thing I remembered with the CFL. They had a lot of good scrambling quarterbacks. I mean, Doug Flutie, I'd seen him in person in 3 different leagues. In the USFL with the New Jersey Generals, the Bills against the Ravens, and then with Calgary in the CFL. And the CFL, it seemed like it fit his skill set more out of the 3 because, I guess because the field was wider and he's a mobile guy. He was able to elude defenders a lot better in that league. And, he's probably, I think he's in their Hall of Fame, or if he isn't, he should be. I'm 90% sure he is, but he was brilliant at that. And I think it probably helped like Warren Moon and Tracy Ham. And then, as you mentioned, a lot of modern players can look up to those guys as influences, whether it be NFL or CFL.
Yeah, I mean, and you talk about Tracy Ham. I mean, Tracy Ham was kind of the linchpin, right? I mean, he was the first player that they signed, and you mentioned it before about how they built the team. Because it's a different brand of football, because you need a specific set of players. A lot of the other American teams went with American-style coaches, tried to bring in NFL names, college names. And the game doesn't always transition. The league is littered with people that came up to the CFL thinking they could make it here, and just didn't adjust well to the game. You even look at like folks like Johnny Manziel or Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I heard he did pretty well for himself after leaving the CFL.
Right.
And Don Matthews was a CFL or lifer from a coach's perspective. They had Jim Pop, who understood the personnel, and they brought in CFL players that just meshed together. They also had the advantage of not having to have a certain number of Canadian-born players on the team, so they could select whoever they wanted because of U.S. labor rules, which is a complex story in and of itself. But it was a list of a group of players that just meshed right from the beginning.
Right. Once again, we're with author and documentary Ron Snyder here on the CFL Fans in the USA podcast. Now, Ron, one thing I gleaned from the screening that I attended at Towson University that you hosted back in September of 2024, you had a great Q&A session with a lot of the players. Bruce Cunningham, who was the narrator pretty much throughout the film itself. John Zeman, and then you had owner Mr. Jim Spiros. Now, one thing I found interesting, especially with these new rules that the CFL are coming out starting next year, Mr. Spiros said that he would like to host a preseason CFL game at M&T Bank Stadium. And I remember at that time I was thinking, okay, that would be cool. I would like to go to that. Except how are they going to fit a 110-yard CFL regulation field in M&T. The way they built that stadium, they basically put the seating bowl close to the action, and didn't look like there would be enough room to make an extra field. But as you know, the CFL are changing their rules, and among them being field dimensions. And I thought, okay, well, maybe that's why he was thinking about that. Now, do you?
Well,
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, my question was going to be, the NFL has been trying to expand their game outside of the United States and hosting regular and preseason games in Europe and Mexico, Brazil, and then this year in Australia. Do you think the CFL is planning on doing anything like that, based on what you may have heard from Mr. Spiros or anyone else?
Well, I know we would have. I know we would have loved to try to get something. You know, of course, the 25th anniversary of the Grey Cup happened during the pandemic, which is when my book came out. My book actually was published on March 13th. Came out March 13th, 2020. So if anyone looks back, that's kind of the day that the world shut down.
Right.
So it was not but it ended up being great for like media coverage because there was no live sports. So I had a lot of opportunities to speak to a lot of podcasts and radio interviews and things like that, as far as that goes. But you know, there was hope, you know, maybe to do something at, you know, a preseason game. You know, I don't know how, you know, how far Mr. Spiros came along with that. You know, there was the chance to try to maybe honor the team, and, you know, the Maryland Sports Hall of Fame. There's been a push for that as well. I don't know where those have gotten to in the last year or so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as far as the CFL expanding into the U.S., you know, you'd have to talk to those folks at the CFL, but I think, you know, it is a specific Canadian brand, right, you know, they're trying to build within the country. You know, look, the UFL is still trying to hold on. You know, it looked like the ratings and attendance were up a little, but what I've watched, with the exception of a few cities, a little bit DC and St. Louis, you know, they have a hard time. You know, everyone thinks that we can pitch the, you know, spring football or summer football. It's a tough sport to get behind. You know, finding the right spot in the sports schedule. You know, the reason that you know, football never worked in Birmingham, you know, is because, again, it gets really hot in some of these places in the summertime, right? When you have spring football. On top of that, college football is king in a lot of these towns as well. A lot of these teams did well until college football rolled around. And these secondary sports are just a tough sell in the U.S. I mean, there's so many options now out there, you know, vying for the sports dollar. You know, you've seen the success that the PLL, the Premier Lacrosse League, has had, but you know, it took years to build up. The UFL is existing. You know, the USFL and the XFL have merged, and of course, the XFL tried 2 other times to make it. You know, there is a formula. There are some cities that seem to work in. Again, it worked in Baltimore with the CFL. St. Louis seems to have had success from a fan perspective in the UFL. But it's tough because, I mean, it's not cheap. You know, there's television issues, there's ad issues. And you know, I would love to see it happen because, again, I think anytime you have more opportunities for athletes, more opportunities for people in media, more jobs, more affordable, family-friendly opportunities, I think is great, especially the way the pricing of a lot of sporting events is today. But I'm not sure it can make it. But I love to see it. I love to see them try one day. But it's going to, you know, history tells me that it's a tough sell.
Yeah, and the impression I'm getting from Canadian fans, I'm not so sure that the CFL wants to expand in the U.S., but I think they want to just get more viewers from the U.S. as far as, you know, watching their games on TV or markets like that. And I think you made a good point on one of the interviews with you that I saw with Nestor. You had said that a lot of the other markets besides Baltimore were either warm weather or southern markets, like with, as you mentioned, with Birmingham and Memphis and Shreveport, Louisiana. College football is big down there. NASCAR is big down there. But in the spring and the summer, I mean, there's scheduling conflicts with NASCAR, and then there's the temperature. And I've read. I mean, I follow the UFL as well. I follow a lot of their social groups, and a lot of people are like, "Why does Birmingham have a team? Why does Houston have a team? Hardly anybody comes out. They complain about having games on Sundays, on Easter, on Mother's Day. Well, things are different down there. You know, it's kind of like you said. It's the heat and just they have different priorities and different things they have to do down there. I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it's and you have to make sure you put a quality product on the field as well. Baltimore worked in part not just because of all the ancillary things that happened with the Colts name and everything else, but it was fun to watch. It was a good product, and you know, it's hard enough for the NFL to find 32 good teams, you know, at that level to put on a quality football. As we know, there are several teams that, you know, many weeks the product they put on the field is not necessarily the most watchable. You know, same with Major League Baseball and NBA. You take that down another level, you know, trying to find, again, quality play is not easy. Again, anything they put on is any better than most athletes and most people could do anyway. But to get people to watch and consume it is not always easy.
I agree. Now, Ron, let me ask you this. I had mentioned earlier about the CFL changing their rules, and allegedly the motivation for this is for revenue growth in the CFL because, much as they did in the 90s, as you had mentioned, they seem to be having some money problems in some markets, or they're having problems with bigger markets such as Toronto and Vancouver trying to bolster their attendance or that kind of thing. As far as a lot of Canadians that I've read on the groups, including the group that you and I belong to with my co-host Bill, a lot of them think that they're losing their identity of the CFL. They're selling out a lot of interest probably to the United States, and plus you've had a lot of the political stuff I really usually don't get into, but I mean, you know, they are concerned about tariffs and other things between Canada and the United States. How do you feel about these new rules that Commissioner Johnson is proposing?
Well, look, I think all sports are always tinkering with rules to try to, again, the sports fan is evolving, right? I mean, watching games live is, again, we're seeing a lot of networks trying to go live with sports. A lot of times you see NBC going with a lot of sports broadcasts. But, you know, again, the leagues are trying to evolve and trying to expand their market. Again, it's a balancing act because you want to try to grow the game. You want to make the game more exciting, but you also don't want to alienate the fans that are your core constituents. So, you know, one thing I learned in the research of my book and in the movie was that Canadians were not happy with the American expansion because, again, they felt it was a Canadian brand of football. You go back and look at the nationalistic approach that happened between Baltimore and Canada in that first Grey Cup and even the second Grey Cup. You know, there was fear of, like, they didn't want to lose the Grey Cup, and I'm thinking to myself, you guys just took the World Series in 93 and 90, 92 and 93 with the Blue Jays. So, you can't have it both ways, but you also have an NBA final since then. But it's important to note that a U.S. city has won a Grey Cup in more recent time than a Canadian team has won the Stanley Cup.
That's crazy. It's funny you mention that because I was actually in Toronto in September, and I remember the feeling that you had mentioned as far as the Canadians not wanting Baltimore to take the Grey Cup over the border. And one of the things I went to was the Hockey Hall of Fame, and they have an exhibit about, it was called the Canada Cup, where they had an international hockey tournament. And when the Soviet Union won, you would have thought, oh my God, Canada's being invaded, this is horrible, this, they're taking the trophy where they don't, and they probably felt the same way about the Stallions. And I think in your movie, one of the players, he even said, he was like trash talking with the fans. He's like saying, "You think you're upset now? It might take a while for this cup to come back because we're going to win a few more of them." Because they thought they were going to still be in Baltimore. But yeah, it's Yeah, it was a unique feeling. I mean, plus the fact at that same time too, they had lost. You mentioned hockey. They had lost the Winnipeg Jets to Phoenix. They had lost the Quebec Nordiques to Denver to become the Colorado Avalanche, and then the Expos were talking about moving and eventually moved down the road to DC. So Canadians were kind of feeling like, man, we're losing our sports, we're losing everything. At least we had the CFL out. Now we got an American team that can win this. Oh my goodness, So yeah, I remember that well, and I remember local anchors when they would travel over there talking about that, and I don't know. It's like you wrote a book about wrestling. It also reminded me of a wrestling storyline where Bret the Hitman Hart was a hero in Canada, but he was a villain in the U.S. And then when American wrestlers, even if they were good guys any other time, they were booed in Canada because it was like a USA versus Canada war in the wrestling ring. So I don't know.
That's actually a great analogy, and yeah, I think that's kind of a great way of seeing it. Exactly. So actually is really good analogy, and I remember that approach, that feud, and I think it involves Stone Cold Steve Austin and among others on the U.S. side. So that that really does make sense.
Once again, we're with author and documentarian Ron Snyder here on the CFL Fans in the USA podcast. Ron, appreciate you coming on the show. Before we let you go, I'm sure as mentioned, your book is available on Amazon both in Kindle form and paperback, and the movie is out as well on YouTube. Where would you like to send our folks to see any of those or any other projects you have?
Well, again, the books are out there. The book's out there. The movie is free for anyone to again, it was a labor of love to kind of make that come into fruition. So I was glad to kind of be able to preserve the story of that. Again, my book on the 88 Orioles, A Season to Forget, is out there on Amazon and on local bookstores online. I also have a book on pro wrestling, about independent pro wrestling, called Wrestling's New Golden Age. Again, available online and through Amazon. And I also have a book out about Cinderella teams, Cinderella at the Big Dance, looking at some of the great Cinderella teams in NCAA March Madness history. In this day and age of NIL, where you have fewer and fewer teams, it's a good read to go back and look and kind of see those underdog teams that just really don't exist like they do anymore. So they're all out there. I have some projects in the works that I'm really excited about. Not quite ready just yet to kind of make it public, but in the next couple weeks, I'm hoping to kind of lay the foundation to let folks know what's going on. But it's going to be another documentary in the works. It's going to take me about a year to complete. So not quite there yet, but I think it's going to be exciting. And again, I really like the opportunity to tell unique stories that resonate with not just athletes and fanatics, major sports fans, but just people that love a good quality story.
Great. Well, if there's anything we can help you to do with those future projects, we'd love to have you back on to talk about them as well. So
I appreciate it, and good luck with the podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing it and listening to it online. And again, anytime people want to talk about this time in Baltimore sports history, I really enjoy it. I think it's a fun time. It's a fun story. These were great players that were great for the community, and anything we can do to kind of keep their legacy going, I'm more than happy to help.
All right, great. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Once again, you're on the CFL Fans in the USA podcast.
Football is back. It's a brand new day. Now the town is rocking at the CFL games. Catch all the action on News Channel 2. Good gosh almighty, it's so exciting. Catch the CFL games. Yeah, Baltimore CFL games. Got more bomb in a lot
All right, and we're back. Ron, once again, we want to thank author Ron Snyder for that tremendous interview. Phil, what do you think about what Mr. Snyder had to say?
Ron Snyder got a lot of information about the Baltimore Stallions, and Baltimore Stallions, and not only was a big deal for Baltimore Stallions for America, CFL, it was also a big deal for Montreal Alouettes because if it wasn't for them, Montreal Alouettes may not happen. And also for the NFL purposes with the Baltimore Ravens because they put the seed of Baltimore football again. So a lot of good stuff by Ron. Good stuff by Mr. Ron right there. That was good stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. And he went into detail about some of the other teams that came in that period, and we're going to discuss a little bit about that ourselves. What I have in front of me is an article by a website called Offside, and it was written by Mr. Rob Williams, and the headline was, "Remember all 7 failed American CFL teams from the 1990s?" Now, we're not going to go into this article because it's pretty lengthy, but he does list each of the 7 teams, and I'm going to read off a little blurb about that, and then you give me your thoughts and comments and your memories of it, since you followed the CFL for quite a while. So, okay. So the first team I'm going to mention is the first team that came in, the Sacramento Gold Miners, which played from 1993 to 1994. The first American CFL team, the Sacramento Gold Miners, began play as the only non-Canadian franchise in 1993. Despite the advantage of playing under a different set of rules from their Canadian counterparts, the Gold Miners missed the playoffs during both of their seasons. The team averaged 16,978 fans per game in 1993, but saw that number drop to 14,226 in 94 before the team moved to San Antonio for the 1995 season. Yeah, the only thing I remember about them, Phil, was, 1, I liked their helmets. They were probably one of my favorites of the teams that year. And 2, I remember they had a team in the World League, which became NFL Europe. And I think they were called the Sacramento Surge, if I'm not mistaken.
Surge.
And fans seemed to rally around that team for a while. I think that may have carried over to the CFL team. What are your thoughts about Sacramento, or any memories you have?
So I did a little research on this, and I remember the Sacramento Gold Miners, and it used to be on ESPN2 back in the day. But I looked into the reason why they had a team in Sacramento. So back in the day, they had a new arena for the Sacramento Kings called Arco Arena. They also was trying to lobby an NFL team. They were trying to get the Oakland Raiders to move to Sacramento.
Interesting.
They had a bunch of fans from Sacramento to go to Raiders games and stuff like that. They were so close on getting a deal to get the Oakland Raiders. It was so close. They was building a new stadium at Arco Arena right next to the basketball arena. So you can look it up on YouTube. They had like a little tunnel to connect it to it. They had like a little foundation to it. They was about to do a baseball / football. They was going to move to A's too. So all in all, like in '92, they realized that Al Davis didn't want to have a conversation in Sacramento. He really wanted to do L.A. So L.A. beat Oakland. Well, L.A. went back to Oakland. I'm sorry about that, but L.A. went back to Oakland instead of L.A. going to Sacramento. So they have nothing of a foundation, but they found a loophole to find the Sacramento Gold Miners. And they was planning to do 3 years at the Hornet Stadium, and if they have good attendance and they had a good team, they would finish the stadium right next to Arco Arena, over 35,000 seat stadium. So what I remember about this team, they had a great quarterback, David Archer, He had his first year there. He was fifth. He's fifth of the 6,000 yards of all time passing yards. Fifth. That's not bad at all. And they had a team. They had a hell of a team. And every year they was improving. They was 6-10, and the year after that they was like 9-8. And then when they moved to San Antonio, they made it to the East Finals, and they hung with the Baltimore Stallions. And this team was out of the way. They had Mike Pringle on the team. Imagine that, first year. Mike Pringle was on the bench.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so Mike Pringle was on his bench. They had a lot of good guys on that team. They had Bobby Humphreys. He's an NFL player. They had the wrestler Goldberg. He was on that team.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. Kerwin Bell. He used to play for the Argonauts. He was on the 98-99 team. Like, think about that. They had Kerwin Bell and David Archer on the same team.
Wow.
Ron Harris was a two-time CFL guy, wide receiver. Mike Kislak. Mike Kislak is one of the top centers of all time in CFL. And you got James Pruitt and Kay Stevenson as the owner. Kay Stevenson was the coach. So it was a hell of a team, and unfortunately Sacramento didn't work out because they draw decent in the first year, but the second year no one showed up, and that was a sad thing because Sacramento is a good city. I've been to Sacramento; it's pretty nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, was it you or another friend that told me that I think you went to one of the recent athletics baseball games in Sacramento? Was that you or?
My friend who owned the bar of Jacobs, Bill Burke, he went to the athletics. I'm almost say Oakland, but
right.
But he went to athletics stadium for Sacramento, so he went to the baseball game there.
Interesting.
Yeah, so. Like I say, Sacramento is a sweet city, it's a beautiful city, and it's like their head coach was Kay Stevenson. Kay Stevenson is a good-minded coach. He played for the Chargers back in the day. He played for the Jacksonville Sharks of the WFL. You remember that?
Right. Oh yeah. Actually, I have a coffee mug with like a bunch of old logos from that league. So yeah, and it was weird they mixed in some USFL and some NFL Europe, and they even had an Iowa Barnstormers from Kurt Warner's old arena team on there for some reason. But
and the great thing about I still think Sacramento, I'm gonna say the Surge, but Sacramento had a sweet jersey. It was it reminded me of Jacksonville very first jersey, but they had this jersey, pretty much the same jersey when they had the Surge. So they just changed the Surge to the
Gold Miners.
The Gold Miners, yeah.
Yeah, because they had the same colors. They had like that teal with the yellow and all that, and then they just changed. I think they had like an S kind of logo, and they changed it to like the gold pick. But yeah, I like that helmet though, and their unis.
Yeah. And like I say, people. Do you say the average is like 18,000 people or 16,000 at the games? So at the 21, they play at Hornet Stadium. That's where the Sacramento State's newly Division I Sacramento State football team play for.
Oh, okay.
And it's a 21,000 seat stadium, so they had a sellout crowd in the first season, almost. But like I said, how it is, like the honeymoon was over the second day, and they had to move, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a shame. It sounded like they were off to a good start, but
and the team was getting better year after year. Like that's the thing. Like they was next to Baltimore, they was the second best team. Like they was the second best team in America, I think.
Right, and it seemed like they tried to start out like Baltimore did when like Ron said in the interview, where it's like they were trying to, instead of going after US NFL players and NFL coaches or college players, they were trying to get successful CFL people, and it sounded like they were loaded with them, But
and the first year they was 6-12, but the last game of the year they dropped 64 points against BC Lions, and that was with Doug Flutie.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's crazy. They also went at BC and won there, so that's they won. That was their one and only win that year in Canada, so that was something.
Yeah, I guess they made up for lost time. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, and this is back then when everyone goes to BC Lion games, and imagine that 30,000 people seeing Sacramento beating them.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let's go on to the second team listed, which was the Las Vegas Posse, who played only one season, 1994. The least successful American franchise was the Las Vegas Posse, which barely lasted only one season in the CFL. Las Vegas finished 1994 season with a woeful 5-13 record and struggled to attract fans. The team averaged 9,527 fans per game, with attendance dipping to a minuscule 2,350 fans in the last CFL game ever played in Las Vegas. The team lost so much money each game that it opted to play its last quote-unquote home game on the road in Edmonton. I wonder if anybody from the current Argonauts remember that. Okay. The most memorable part of the Las Vegas one-year run in the CFL was this all-time terrible rendition of "O Canada" sung to the tune of "O Christmas Tree." I'm not going to play that, folks, but I don't know if you've seen that, Bill. This guy looked like a Las Vegas lounge singer, and he completely butchered that song. He got the lyrics right, but it was like Jesse Owens, Roseanne Barr level of bad national anthem singing. It was horrible.
Utterly atrocious, I tell you. I showed that to my friend who watched the CFL games with me, and he's like, "What's this guy smoking?" I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me,"
I don't know. I expected him to kind of like go into a chorus like Bill Murray in Saturday Night Live when he sang the Star Wars theme. Star Wars, oh wacky Star Wars, everybody,
It was like, oh man, it was like, it made the Carl Lewis one sound respectable than this. Like, it was
right.
That was a big slap in the face to the CFL and the people from Canada watching it. So
right.
That's the thing.
Yeah, actually, Bill, I have more memories of the Las Vegas Outlaws from the 2001 XFL because I remember they were the very first game of that league. They played in the same stadium. Their uniforms kind of looked similar, except they had kind of like a bull skull instead of the sheriff's badge like the Posse had on their helmets. And then he had Vince McMahon coming out that, "Thank you for coming. This is the XFL." And then, it's when they tried to partner with NBC and come in as a tie-in to Saturday Night Live. And, well, that's another history. That's a whole nother league. We're Canadians today, damn it.
Yeah,
But,
I tell you what, I remember that game vividly, and I hate to say it like that, I fell asleep watching that first game. And I was a big XFL fan. I remember the very first game. It was a terrible game.
It was.
Yeah.
And then they had a good game a week after that with, I think it's LA and Orlando, but then they had a problem with the generators that broadcast the signal. They didn't have gas or something, and then they had to postpone Saturday Night Live, and supposedly J-Lo was supposed to be singing on it, and NBC was not very happy. So, yeah. That's...
Oh, I know that. And all I remember that game, and then the first XFL. Sorry, I got a little fire up on that, but I remember Syracuse because that was the year. I think it was the week after the Ravens won the Super Bowl.
Yes, I remember that.
Syracuse was on the sidelines, and he's like, "Hey, what you think about the XFL?" I was like, "It'll be a lot better. These guys start scoring some touchdowns."
Yeah. Well, he was even worse. I think he was Well, one of the teams was the New York, New Jersey Hitmen, and he said, and New York, New Jersey got to get their head out of their ass. I think he actually said that on there. And only one other thing I remember from that team in that league, he hate me. Remember he had the things with the jerseys? That was funny.
Rod Smarts, that was, he hate me, man. That was they're still selling those jerseys. You can still find those jerseys, like, on eBay and whatnot. I'm like, oh, man, he hate me. I remember that.
Yeah, I think, this one site called Royal Retros, where you can not only get a lot of the CFL jerseys, but you can get the 2001 XFL, and you can get that customized. Hello, Royal Retros. We'll send us some human monies. Sponsors. We'll
bump you up. Yeah, like Danhausen. Give me some human jerseys,
There you go.
Yeah.
All right.
I got a Warren Moon jersey off of them, so yeah.
Nice.
So that'd be dope.
Was it Edmonton one or?
Edmonton for sure.
Sweet.
The crazy thing about Warren Moon, at first I hated Warren Moon because he was Oilers always did a number to the Steelers back in the day, so. And he was the main reason. And I did not know anything about. This is me. Did not know the greatness of him in the CFL. I was like,
oh yeah.
Always remember. I start reading the greatness of Warren Moon when I in high school. I'm like, wow, Warren Moon went to this. I'm like, whoa. So that's the thing about it. Like I say, the Las Vegas posses, I know the reason why it didn't work out. I think Las Vegas was still a young city, a growing city.
Right.
And I don't think the stadium was good. Like, the stadium was small. It wasn't CFL equipped. And plus, certain of those games they played during the day. And you know how Vegas, you don't know, you ever been to Vegas, or anyone been to Vegas? Vegas during the day is over 100 degrees.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of issues with that, no doubt.
Yeah, Sam Boyd Stadium don't really have shade, and that's the problem. No one didn't want to go to the game because there was no shades.
Right.
That's why UNLV and the Las Vegas Raiders, they make sure they have a dome.
Right.
And they learn the mistakes of the problems of the teams before with Las Vegas posses and Las Vegas let's see names
Outlaws.
And Outlaws too.
Yeah.
And the best thing about Las Vegas posses, and we hardly seen them on ESPN2 because obviously they're not that good. They had a young Anthony Calvillo, one of the greatest quarterbacks in CFL history. He had a humble beginnings as the Las Vegas posses, and they saw greatness in him, and they had an old flash in the pan, and an old ex-NFL head coach, Ron Myers. You remember that name?
Yeah, he was with the Colts, I think.
Yeah.
Colts and a few other teams. I remember him mostly with the Colts, and I think he played in the Vince McMahon XFL too, but yeah. Coached in there, rather.
Yeah, and the sad thing is he trying to do the NFL, he trying to teach the people how to do it the NFL way, and fell miserably. But Calvillo looked like Calvillo at early age, but he got hurt halfway in the season, so it was bad news. And they also had a trouble rookie, Tamar Vanover, as their top wide receiver. And Tamar Vanover, everyone know him as the great kick returner for the Kansas City Chiefs, and got in trouble during the time and went to jail for a whole year because him and Van Morris want to be drug dealers.
Van Morris. You and I, both of our NFL teams have a shared history with that guy. Good Lord.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, what I'm reading right now, and I'm reading the schedule back then, like, they started out good, and they started 2-0, and their losses, besides Toronto, was close losses, and they won at Freeport, and then it all went downhill when they played BC. They got crushed to them. Had a good game against Ottawa, but they lost. They didn't win. They was 4-6, and then had a close game at Calgary. Hamilton, they went against Hamilton, and then after that, this is when you'll love this. When they beat Hamilton, the attendance is 4,700 people at the game.
Oof.
And then next week, it went up a little, 7,438 games. And then they, obviously went at Baltimore. They almost beat Baltimore, and it was 34,000 people at the Baltimore Stadium. But they went back to play Winnipeg, and it was only 2,300 people.
At Winnipeg?
And
wow.
against Winnipeg. And and suddenly that, lack of people, that mean, like, they just went downhill, and the owner's like, you know what, this ain't gonna happen, this ain't gonna work, and they pretty much bailed out before the season ends, so unfortunately that sucks. So
and it does. And, I mean, it sucks for the league, because, I'm sure they put a lot of investment to keep them in there, too, and they figured Vegas would return on it, but...
Oh, yeah, and that's the thing, man. They really thought, and the CFL really thought Vegas was going to be their cash cow right there, and it really wasn't. And they was thinking, and I heard that the owner wanted a new stadium for this team, and they wanted, build a state-of-the-art stadium, because people was trying to make CFL up here in the NFL, these owners, but unfortunately, it's all about location. That's my theory on that.
Yeah.
And UNLV, it's like with the 1 year. You remember the 1 year they had the XFL 2.0. They had a Las Vegas team. They
had to play in like a baseball stadium or something. They had some issue. They couldn't play at Sam Boyd. I didn't understand that.
And they play, and I hate to say it like this, I seen high school fields was better equipped than this stadium. It was I forgot the name, the Las Vegas Vipers. I could be wrong, but
in fact, Rod Woodson coached them, if you remember.
Yeah, and their home game, that was one of the worst stadiums I ever seen in my life.
Yeah, and it was like the press box, I think they literally had them on top of like a genie lifter or a scaffold or something. It looked really tacky.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and like I say, I think Las Vegas, and this is one of the reasons why big organizations like NFLs and NBA and MLB was very scared about Vegas at that time, because they saw the Vegas posses and it didn't draw at all. And these are the two teams. These three teams at the time, NFL really wanted them to have a team, and that's including the Baltimore team.
Right.
So.
And another thing about Vegas, and a lot of younger viewers will probably be surprised at this, there was a stigma about gambling where NFL, MLB, they didn't want any gambling. Now look at it where it's like, that's all you see. FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever. I mean, it's come a long way for sure.
And it's crazy. Vegas is still a growing city, too. It's only going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I went to the NFL draft in Vegas, and it's crazy how small Vegas is, and nothing but desert around, and they can put more stuff in Vegas. It's insane.
Right.
So
So,
well, yeah, well, that might help them. They might be able to expand outward, I guess. I don't know, but
Yeah, so, that's the thing. And I feel like Vegas now they would scoff at CFL now, but now they became a home pot for all sports,
right. Yeah, I mean, as far as Canadians, I mean, they're probably upset about how successful the Las Vegas Golden Knights were. I mean, they were in their third Stanley Cup last month and winning one. So it's like, and no Canadian cities have done that since the Montreal Canadiens in '93.
Yeah, definitely. And certain like my buddy's a big hockey guy. He can't stand the Golden Knights because they practically had a fantasy hockey team.
Right. Oh yeah, and then all that fanfare, that medieval time stuff with the videos and stuff. And I remember watching them when the Caps played them in the World Series. I wanted the Caps to kill them so bad, not just because I was a Caps fan, but it was like, oh my God, beat the hell out of these, these Vegas show boys, show girls, show me some real hockey and, win. And then next thing you know, Caps win and Alan Sobeskin is getting drunk all over Vegas and then all over DC and drinking out of the Stanley Cup. So there you go.
Oh, yeah. And what irks me about that, what irks me about is like all my Pens fans, like they was adopting the Golden Knights because of Fleury. And
right.
I'm like, no, that doesn't work like that. So, yeah, so basically it was a very tragic ending for the Posses, and it's pretty sad they had to have a home game against Edmonton.
Right.
Against Edmonton, so.
Oh, well.
It's bad.
That's a shame. Well, yeah, they didn't have the World Cup on either, so they don't even have that excuse. Good God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But they had the greatest, and this is my personal opinion, they had the greatest quarterback in CFL history, and that was his humble beginnings, and he took some bumps and bruises until he got to Montreal. So
right.
Just like Mike Crandall, he took bumps and bruises. Actually, he was Edmonton first, but he took bumps and bruises first to get to Baltimore, and that's what it is,
Right. Well, that brings us to our next team, those very Baltimore Stallions, who, oddly enough, mentioned Canadians. The Stallions winning in '95, and American cities have won a Grey Cup more recently than Canadian cities have won the Stanley Cup. That's crazy, man. But we had a lengthy interview with Ron Snyder about the Stallions, so I'm not going to talk too much about that. I'll just read this real quick. There was one CFL success story to come out of the United States, and that was the Baltimore Stallions. Baltimore averaged 37,347 fans in 1994 and 30,111 in 1995. It may have continued on beyond that season if not for the NFL returning to the city in 1996 when the Baltimore Ravens were introduced after moving from Cleveland. Baltimore made it to the Grey Cup in 1994 before losing to the BC Lions, but won the championship the following year when it defeated the Calgary Stampeders. The franchise moved to Montreal in 1996. The only embarrassing part of Baltimore's time in the CFL was its name. The team tried to call itself the Baltimore CFL Colts before the Indianapolis Colts and the NFL pressed legal action, stopping them from using the Colts nickname. The team went without a nickname but was commonly known as the Baltimore CFLers for an entire season before settling on Stallions. So, alright, Phil, like you said, we had the detailed interview with Ron Snyder about this, and so probably covered a lot of memories you and I may have had. Is there anything else about the Stallions that stood out for you?
I think the Stallion was the ESPN2 golden child for CFL. I think they was the key of the eyeballs and American fans during that time. Especially yours truly. So because how good is this team, how great this team, how everything around there was good, from special teams to offense to defense. Like Coach Don Matthews, he knew how to do it, and he had one of the greatest running backs I have ever seen Mike Pringle on that team.
Right.
Tracy Ham is one of the. I kind of wish I'm giving flowers to Tracy Ham. I think Tracy Ham, before Michael Vick, there was Tracy Ham, and Tracy Ham was so good, and the defense was just lights out. It's one, and I'm sticking to my guns. And I say this to my friends all the time. I was like, the Stallion defense. If the Stallion defense, and I might be the minority. If the Baltimore Stallions was a team in the NFL in 1995, I guarantee this team would have won 3 or 4 games. That's how good this team was.
Right.
And the way how the fans were interacting the fans interact with this team was amazing and was very eye candy, especially for a kid who watched secondary leagues of football. Like, okay, this team is packed in the house, and he was knocking hits. I'm giving you names like Efren Payton. He's one of the best defense guys I've seen at that time. Which his son was a good basketball player, but he was a hell of a defense. Carl Anthony, he was the Grey Cup MVP. He was good. Irvin Smith, he was a big deal. Josh Miller, my man from Fox Chapel, and then your kicker Donald Eagle Bouquet.
Yeah, I had trouble with. I was going to talk to him about that with Ron, but I was like, no, I don't want to butcher his name.
Yeah. Well, he was a hell of a kicker when he was the Buccaneers, and he came in there and dealt with the cold in Canada, and he made clutch kicks, and simple as that. And this team was so stacked and so it's incredible how this team was, and it was crazy. It was like, I don't know if people watch wrestling or people watch the 97 Monday Night Raw Canada Wars. It was like that when they went up to play BC at their own backyard for Grey Cup. It was like everyone took it personally, and I was like, whoa, this is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I remember Ron and I mentioned that too, and it's like, I also mentioned too, when I went to Toronto in September, I went to the Hockey Hall of Fame. They had an exhibit about the tournament they had called the Canada Cup, an international tournament, and then they had one year where the Soviet Union defeated Canada. And just the news clips that they had on there, you would have thought that Soviet Union was coming in with tanks and with missiles, and Nikolai Volkov was going to sing the Soviet anthem, and everything was gloom and doom for Canada. So, but yeah, that and then, as we also mentioned in the interview, you had 2 hockey teams defecting from Canada to the U.S. You had the Expos; they were being shopped around, even playing some games in Puerto Rico, I think, and then before they came to D.C. to become the Nationals. But
and here's the reason why people was getting fired up. But even this is when I say American fans who love CFL, this is where their hype right here, their peak right here at this season. A year before, Toronto Blue Jays beat the Philadelphia Phillies.
Right.
And a lot of baseball purists did not like a Canadian team beat American pastime.
Right.
So basically, I'm hearing this on ESPN Sports Center. They was hyping this game up like it was like the craziest thing. They played this game. I remember this. It was a tape delay game. Just to let you know, like they showed it. It was like a Sunday. It was like Sunday at a certain time, but they had it like 8 o'clock on ESPN, and I know it was like 8 o'clock Monday on ESPN, and I remember. This is the reason why this is the day I'll say I'm hooked at this sport. I remember it was like an NHL playoff game that last quarter.
Right.
And they didn't really score that much, but every play matters. And every play, the crowd was going nuts. Every time Baltimore touched the ball, they booed.
Right.
30,000 people booing. It was insane. And then when they made the field goal, the crowd was going insane. It was like, wow. You know? And the next year, I think Baltimore had a goal. They wanted to destroy everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember they put I remember that year, everyone thought, okay, Calgary might have a chance, Doug Flutie and stuff like that, but I think like the first play of the game, they shut that crowd up, and it was just all Baltimore from there and in, you know?
Yeah, I remember watching that too, and yeah, it was, like I said, they were worried, and they were like all gloom and doom, and then, fortunately for them, like I said, though, Art Modell moved his team, which became the Ravens, into the stadium. The Stallions had to move out, and they wound up moving to Montreal, and they wound up giving Montreal some Grey Cup. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it all worked out for everybody. So
I got a question. You think Modell probably watched these games, so like, you think this was the inspiration to have the Ravens?
No doubt, because I mean, during the expansion, they had a stadium deal ready and all that, and there were a couple owners that were interested. There were, even before Modell, they had other teams like I think the Rams and the Buccaneers, and I think the Raiders they were just eyeing things up. And then when they saw that the Baltimore fans were responding, and pretty much they were, and I mean, Ron made a good comparison, they were kind of like the St. Louis Battlehawks of that league. They were a former NFL city. They were spurned at the expansion draft. They lost in the lawsuit. They were like, okay, we can't have a team, and then you're not gonna let us call a team what we want that we have in another league, you know. And if Baltimore at that time was like, basically, screw the NFL, we're gonna back ourselves to, you know, the CFL Colts, and we're gonna call them the Colts whether the courts want us to or not. At least people in the stands did anyway. But then
I support that.
but then our governor at the time, Paris Glendening, and all of a sudden he basically pulled the state's pants down and said, okay, NFL, you can come back in, you know. And I was angry at that, because I'm going to make a confession to you, Phil. You're going to be surprised at this. I used to have friends that went to a Steelers bar in Baltimore called the Purple Goose. And I would watch Steelers and Penguins games with, you know, on TV. I think I even went to Three Rivers with a bunch of them for one game one year. But I remember they, you know, obviously, you know, being a Steelers fan, you know, they hated the Browns, and they were to common chant, what color is poop? Browns. You know, I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And they had a petition. I went to the final game of the Stallions. It was the Southern Division playoffs between San Antonio and the Stallions, and the winner going to the 95 Grey Cup. Well, somebody actually wrote on they had this banner where you could sign like a petition for it. Somebody wrote that same slogan, what color is poop? The Browns. You know, so they didn't want them there. And my dad even got at work, somebody got him a shirt that said Baltimore Browns, and it had like had a Cleveland Brown orange helmet and all the Benny Testaverde and all the people signing it, and I was kind of like, man, if they call themselves the Browns, man, we're giving up a Grey Cup. I was thinking, we're giving up a Grey Cup champion for, I don't know, the Brooklyn Brawlers of the friggin' NFL. No, I was going to be like, you know what, I'll cheer for Pittsburgh or the Eagles or anybody but these clowns. But then they decided to change things up, and that part I respected, and then, you know, then the rest is history there.
You know the funny thing about Cleveland, and whoever's in Cleveland, no offense, I talk to Browns fans near us, and it's like, why do you still hate us? Like, we felt bad for y'all, and because your owner just flat out moved to Baltimore, and it's like, it don't matter Steelers, you know. We don't care. We'll root for the Ravens.
Wow.
I'm like, wow. This is people in Cleveland. And
that's surprising because I remember going to a Ravens-Browns games and had Browns fans, they were getting heckled, you know, like, it was so bad they were, like, you know, still complaining about Odell moving his team there. They actually had somebody in our section throwing diapers at the Browns fans because they were crying so much.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing is, like, they still hate the Ravens, and they hate the Bengals, but they always are gonna have that universally hate of the Steelers. Like, I think it's more jealous hate than anything, and basically, I always say, don't get mad at me, get mad at your owners.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I say that to the Bengals fan too. Like, don't get mad at us, get mad at your owners. Like, like that's the problem with that. And like, as a Steelers, as a Pittsburgh guy, like the Baltimore Colts, Stallions, Colts, CFLers, I like to call them Colts. I had a personal, I was a personal fan of this team because they showed this team all, and practically showed this team in Birmingham every week on ESPN too.
Right.
And 94 is like the beginning, actually 95 was like the beginning of the internet. You had a chance to listen to this on the radio. So,
oh, no kidding.
Yeah, so basically it took me like 35, it took like 2 or 3 hours to download it, but it's like, oh, you can listen to this game on this thing, and it was pretty cool. And and the crazy thing is, the 95, they did not show, I don't know, they showed it live down there, but they did not show it live up here. They taped it, they had a tape delayed the next day, just like the game last 94.
Yeah, so, it was weird how they did TV for that here, because what they did, they had some games on the ESPN2. In fact, I think I recorded a game, their very first regular season game was against the Argos at Skydome.
Mm-hmm.
But what they would do, they would have some games that the local NBC affiliate channel 2, no, actually I think they're an ABC affiliate now. They switched the main network. So right now they're the ABC affiliate. They broadcasted a few games locally. And then what they did, they had the local cable network, Home Team Sports, they would broadcast games. They would use the CBC feed, but they would have Baltimore announcers talking over them. And it would still have, like, the CBC graphics and everything else, but it would just basically not only be calling the game, but calling whatever the CBC was doing. It's kind of like what ESPN did with the KBO, where they were kind of like saying, all right, why are they showing pictures of a grass field? But I saw on the KBO, in their actual network, they would use that they had like ad breaks. They would say, brought to you by Kia, LG, or whatever, you know, and they would project it on the grass. Where ESPN, they just showed blank grass in there, and like Perez and them are like, what are they doing? Yeah, it's like, but.
And then, did you know, and I don't know if you remember this, you remember like CBS football was like gone after like 93, 94 to go to Fox, right?
Right, yeah.
I don't know, did you know that they was trying to get, CFL was trying to bank on the Baltimore success, and they were trying to get a CBS deal?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, I looked at this like, it was on, it was like Wikipedia or something. It was like a couple of years ago, okay? I remember there was CFL people was trying to test out games down in the Orange Bowl, and they wanted to test out games in the Orange Bowl. They had that's when the Miami Manatees were going to come and play in '96. So they were going to try to put CBS Sports, like they wanted to have it like on like a CBS game of the week down there.
Nice.
And they want to spotlight the Baltimore and Miami a lot.
Right.
You know?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. One thing you might not have known about this season, they were planning on, for the 96 season, they were going to award the Grey Cup to Baltimore, as far as actually holding it at Memorial Stadium. They had everything planned out. They were even going to name, I think they did this in all the cities. They named certain streets after each of the cities in the CFL, like they'd have a Baltimore Street and a Calgary Street and a Toronto Street or whatever. Oddly enough, funny thing is, Baltimore Street here is the home of a red light district, but that's another story. But they were going to do that, but then of course when the Ravens came here, that they did away with all of that. So.
And I think that's part of the, reason, it was making, the American teams, it was making money, and it was making, I think Baltimore not only was keeping American teams afloat, it was keeping the whole league afloat.
Right.
Because, no one was going to, after, John Candy passed, and no one was going to the Sky Dome for the Argonauts. No one was going to the Ottawa games. The teams that the two teams was keeping that money going was BC and Baltimore. And that was the thing. And sometimes a little bit, Calgary is also a solid city, but Edmonton wasn't really selling out. Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, they always sell out, but it is a small market.
Right.
So the big market was Vancouver and Baltimore, and they was hoping Toronto to catch fire, and it took them all the way to 98 to actually have a decent crowd. So
yeah.
So that's a lot of people, Canadians, don't want to admit that, and we're not bashing Canada. They're just saying, at that time, Baltimore and Vancouver was the moneymaker of that league.
Oh, sure. It was a money grab. And back then, you didn't have as many. I mean, we spoke about this in other episodes, Phil. The CFL now has other ways to make money that you didn't have 30 years ago. The internet, as you mentioned, was in its infancy. You didn't have off-site betting, at least not to the extent that you have now. I mean, you can do it from your phone now. I mean, before, it used to be a few places you could go to, off-track betting for horse races and stuff, but that was about it. But you have that, and video games, I mean, what did you have, in 95? You had, Tecmo Bowl? I mean, it's but now, you have, the video games that were advanced and all. So you have a lot of things now that you couldn't use to raise money, and
Now, I'm gonna do a what-if scenario. What if they would have done this in, say for example, it was all Canada. Say they would have done this 2002. You think they would have made a lot more money? You think they would have say for example, there's a couple what ifs Baltimore didn't have Cleveland. No XFL. Say for example, instead of '93 U.S. invasion, they would have did this in 2002. You think they would have made a little bit more money because you had the internet and possibly a better TV deal, and also video games possible? You think that?
Possibly. League-wise, I'd say probably yes. Baltimore might not have been as successful. He still might have harbored some resentment, towards the NFL and all that, but I think back then, when it actually did happen, it was fresher in people's minds, so, they were still kind of pissed. But overall, yeah, I don't know if that would have worked. I mean, it probably would have been kind of like the XFL. You probably would have had, Rapoli or somebody say, okay, we're going to play in small soccer. Probably would have been a lot like the UFL is today, to tell you the truth.
And it's I think and then the problem with these, I think the problem with the CFL, they try to go to the team, they don't have a team, and they think, okay, the city don't have an NFL team, if we have a special football league, everybody and their mom will come out, and that's not the case.
No.
And that's the thing. And I know we're going to talk about the other four teams, but majority of these stadiums wasn't CFL equipped.
No, they weren't even. They were barely college stadiums, and a lot of them were like aging, just open bowls, kind of like the old Tampa Bay Buccaneers Stadium, like the old Sombrero. A lot of them. And one of those teams we're going to talk about right now, it will be the Shreveport Pirates, who played in 1994 and 95. Playing 2 seasons in Louisiana, the Shreveport Pirates did a lot of losing before folding in 1995. Shreveport was the worst team in the CFL during their inaugural season, posting a 3-15 record. They weren't much better in 1995, winning just 5 games. The Pirates averaged 17,871 fans per game in 1994, but attendance dipped in Shreveport to 14,359 in 1995. So, yeah, it's what we were talking about, Phil. I think a lot of it had to do with heat, an old stadium, and just... Plus, Shreveport, I've never been to Louisiana, but from what I heard, it's not really all that close to, like, New Orleans or any other, or, like, Baton Rouge or any other cities that you think of in Louisiana for football. So, I don't know. What's your take on that?
So, my take about it, I think they saw... But that's where the home of the Independence Bowl, and they seen, like, all right, this is a nice stadium. And also, not only a nice stadium, this Shreveport was supposed to be like the fast-growing city. It was be like a modern-day Columbus.
Right.
The team, I can't wait to get this interview. I know, so the guy who was on this team was a receiver, and this guy should be the coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions, Terry Smith. You ever heard of him, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
He used to coach Gateway High School, and that's where I live in Monroeville, PA. He was talking about this a couple of years ago. He said having a CFL team in Shreveport and going and play like Memphis, Birmingham, and what was where their own thing was a death trap. And if you catch a ball in the end zone, you're only like a couple of inches to the concrete wall.
Ooh.
So that's how it is. Now they had some good players in Shreveport. They had Joe Horn. I don't know if you remember Joe Horn, Mr. Cell Phone guy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They had one. Yeah, he was on that team for a second. We had my man, the wrestler Heidenreich. You know.
Oh, no kidding.
But yeah, Michael Cole remember him pretty well.
Oh yeah. We're not going there, but yeah, oh yeah.
Freddie Childress is one of the offensive linemen in history CFL. That was a starter. Terry Beaufort, he was a guard. Billy Joe Tolliver, remember that guy?
Oh yeah. I'm proud of that. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on that team. Trying to think who else was on it. This guy used to be the interim coach of UCLA, Mike Johnson. He was the third-string quarterback. There's a lot of names on this team, but it was insane. But here's something crazy. They averaged 17,000. They lost every game until October. But the very last game of the year, 34,000 people was at the Independence Stadium against the Auburn Rough Riders, and they won that game 28-24. And that's crazy. It's like a little bit too late.
Right.
And it's crazy. Like, it was the game before, there was 12,000 people. And 14, 15, 16. But 32,000 people last game of the year.
Were there a lot of Calgary fans there? Or I would think that'd be kind of a long commute, but...
It was against Ottawa.
Ottawa, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Ottawa was a dying team, the Rough Riders. You remember that? Like, I think they folded a couple of years later.
Oh yeah. And took them yeah, they had like a couple teams I think after that, and then eventually they settled on the Red Blacks. But yeah.
Yeah, I think a couple. I think it was giving away something. I don't know, but 32,000 people. That's a good number in my eyes.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's better than some of the Stallions games. That's good attendance. But all right. Well, the next team we're going to talk about will be the Memphis Mad Dogs, who only played one season, 1995. And Memphis Mad Dogs had a 9-9 record during their lone CFL season, averaging just 13,691 fans per game. They narrowly missed the playoffs in 1995. Memphis played out of the Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium, which was the most ill-suited stadium for the Canadian game. It was narrower and shorter than all other CFL fields, with artificial turf cutouts being added to the natural grass field. Instead of the end zone being 20 yards deep, in Memphis they were as shallow as 7 yards along the sideline. Yikes. Let's see if there's anything else here. Before the... Oh, okay, all right. That's all they have for Memphis. What are your memories about the Memphis Mad Dogs?
I remember the Mad Dogs for that stadium. And the Liberty Bowl, that's a... I don't know. I've been to that Liberty Bowl stadium, man. And I hate to say it, it's a dump.
Yeah.
And it was a bad look to the CFL. And this is like, maybe this is going to be the look of the next year CFL with the shortened end zone. It just looked tacky. It looked awful. And like I say, one of the guys I know say it was a death trap.
Right.
And a lot of people got injured in that. A lot of people got injured in that stadium because it was half turf, half grass, everything. But like I say, it was a good team, and I remember it was this close to making the playoffs, and I think it was like they had a game. The defense was so good at that time. I remember that, and I remember they had to play Edmonton at the last game of the year, and it was on ESPN too, and they would have won. They would have got in, and they got destroyed. I remember like Gizmo Williams like ran back 2 touchdowns and whatnot. Like the team got destroyed. But I remember they had great defense. They had Joe Horn on that team. Obviously, Joe Horn got released for Shreveport, and Joe Horn was in Baltimore, got released, went to Memphis. He was Memphis. Then he was an all-star, and then suddenly he got released, got traded to Shreveport.
Wow.
So it was crazy, and they had some good guys like Rodney Harden, Ronald Smith, Tim Cofield. Tim Cofield was one of that great CFL defensive end. I think he won. I think he's a 2-time defense player of the year. You know, so yeah. And like I say, that was a good team, man. If I was my age back then, I was hoping this team would be back in '96 because I think there was an up and coming team. And I'm trying to think who was the quarterback on the team. Wait, hold on a second. I think it was wait, I'm trying to think who's I had oops. Hold up. So I'm trying to find out who was the oh yeah, Damien Allen was on that team. Wow. Didn't know that. Oh my God. So pretty much Damien Allen on that team, and now my list is messed up already.
Oh God.
Yeah, so I gotta finally put him in there, but that was a good team.
Okay. Maybe you can make him an honorable mention. If not, but all right.
Yeah.
Well, the next team we'll talk about, and I happened to see their very last game in existence because it was a playoff. It was it was a Southern Division Championship against the Stallions. This team would be the San Antonio Texans, who only played in 1995. Before the NFL Houston Texans, there were the CFL San Antonio Texans, which played one season in 1995. The team played out of the Alamodome, sharing it with the NBA's San Antonio Spurs at the time. They averaged 15,855 fans per game in the 59,000 capacity stadium. Along with Baltimore, San Antonio is one of two American franchises ever to win a CFL playoff game. But, okay, so, and like I mentioned, I don't remember too much about San Antonio other than we played them in the last game, and my father and I went to that game, and we were cold. We were way up. I wanted to be big stuff and get us 55-yard line seats, Bill, and we were way in the upper deck, and it was in November, and I mean the wind was whipping around pretty good. Yeah, at Memorial Stadium is like it used to be an open-end horseshoe, and any wind that went through there, it just whipped around, kind of gave it almost like a broken toilet bowl effect. It was crazy, but
it's like the old Cleveland Brown Stadium. They do the same thing, you know.
Oh yeah.
And what I remember about San Antonio Texan, I think CFL wanted the same success of Baltimore, the same success in San Antonio. Newer stadium, better. It was a CFL quick stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I think they was trying to do a Grey Cup down in Alamodome because they was trying to do that. And this team was pretty much fun to watch because they not only Baltimore was fun to watch. This team was fun to watch because they was a seasoned vet team. They was there for 3 years. 2 years they was in Sacramento, and then they finally moved there. David Archer, he reminded me a lot of Jeff George. This man would throw 500 yards a game, and so that's how good this guy was, you know. And this team was fun to watch in offense and stuff like that. I remember their first playoff game. It was on ESPN2. They played against the Birmingham Barracudas, and they just destroyed Birmingham. And it was crazy because they played Birmingham the last game of the year, and then they played them the week after that, and they just destroyed them. And it was like every game, and it was sad because no one went to these games. It was 10,000 people, 14,000 people, and 19,000 people went. And it was a playoff game. Only 13,000 people went to this game.
Right.
And it was crazy because it was a very good team to watch, and sucks. And it was crazy because the Alamodome was pretty much, it was a multi-purpose stadium for basketball, football, and like you see national championships for basketball, they sell out like that. You see them play the Spurs there, they sell out like that. You see them play with the Saints, they sell out like that. And it was just like, it was sad because even the what they call the XFL team.
The Brahmas, yeah. Yeah, they have some good fans. I'm friends with a bunch of people down there. They used to come to games against the Defenders in D.C. and we would be some friendly chirping, but they were good people. I felt bad for them when they lost the Brahmas because I thought they supported them pretty well down there. But
and the crazy thing, they supported these teams, and just no one didn't show up, and maybe because of high expensive prices, I don't know. It just
probably the same problem with some of the other southern markets, though, Bill. Even though, fortunately for them, they played in an air-conditioned dome, but one friend of mine who used to follow them, he actually used to travel and follow the Brahmas to every game that they went to. And she actually still supported the UFL even after the Brahmas left, and she nicknames herself Brahma Babe. You might have seen her. She kind of like dresses like, almost like, she has like blonde hair, has like bull horns, kind of look like to me, her costume kind of reminded me of like an opera singer. But anyway, she told me one time they were tailgating before a game. It was 100-some degrees, and she passed out from the heat. So it was like, it would be late in the season, and it would be just like in Vegas and in Birmingham and these other southern cities. It's like their heat's to a new level. You and I experience like heat and humidity in Baltimore and Pittsburgh, but down there, my God, it's a lot worse.
Yeah, man, it's insane. Like, I know people who went to Super Bowl 30 back in '95 when the Steelers played Cowboys in Arizona. And this is back then when Super Bowls was affordable. And they all went down there and they say, oh my goodness. They say, I'm ready to leave at halftime. That's how hot it was. And it was January.
Right.
And this is back then they played at Sun Devil Stadium, and you can't hide to it,
Right.
And that was that's a problem in those southern cities, and then that's including, like, we got Birmingham, Shreveport, San Antonio, all those, Memphis, all those places hot. And I tell everyone this, South hot is a lot different than Northeast hot.
Right.
And that's coming from Kentucky all the way down. And they just, something about South heat is just unbearable.
Well, I think South heat, especially like Louisiana and stuff, and probably maybe Kentucky too, it's more humidity, I guess. And whereas I was told like a lot of like parts of Texas and Arizona, it's more like that desert dry heat, which kind of sneaks up on you. When I went to Mexico back in the 80s, and that's what kind of happened to me. It's like, it wasn't real humid hot, but it was hot. And, I came back basically, I looked like I was wearing Calgary Stampeders gear. I was so red, but...
So I went to a Pitt Panthers game at the El Paso Bowl, Sun Bowl, whatever it is. My buddy had tickets. He's like, hey, you want to go? Well, I don't care. I'm game. And El Paso's in the middle of nowhere, Texas, West Texas. And I talked to the locals. I was like, hey, how hot this place is. They'll say 1 week it'll be 20 degrees and snowing, and the next day it'll be 108 degrees.
Jesus.
And the game I went to was very cold. I'm like, what?
Oh, man. Yeah, a lot of people think of Texas being warm, but I remember one Super Bowl, you probably remember it too, they were at Jerry World between the Steelers and the Packers. It was snowing. I remember seeing that on TV.
Yeah, and I went down for the festivities of that, and the funny thing is we had a hotel in Oklahoma, and some of the stuff, like when it snows and ice down there, it's not equipped like where we at, like salt trucks.
Yeah, they get ice on the power lines. They feel like they're doomed. Yeah, I know, it's nuts.
My family lived in Atlanta, Georgia. When they had like snowstorms or stuff like that, they'll stop work and school, and they'll be gone for a whole week. Like, hey, we don't know what to do out here.
Right.
Yeah, but I tell people this about I tell the people this that like on the Facebook page, like, oh, well, they ever have an American team in the CFL, like the first thing you do, don't have a Southern team, unless it's St. Louis. And the reason why I say that, because it's not like I say, it's like it's too hot to have these games down there, and have it more closer to the border makes sense. So, I don't know. Then, who knows?
Yeah. Could go either way.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to continue down south with the final team that existed, which was the Birmingham Barracudas, who only played in 1995. The 1995 CFL season saw the league split teams into two new divisions. 8 Canadian teams played in the North Division, while the 5 American teams played in the South Division. That included the Birmingham Barracudas, who posted a 10-8 record and averaged 17,625 fans per game. They qualified for the playoffs but lost to San Antonio. And Birmingham actually had really impressive attendance for their home games in the first half of the season, drawing over 30,000 on 2 occasions. Fan support dwindled once NFL college and high school football began in September, though, with the team drawing between 6,000 and 9,000 fans for their final 3 home games. Now, Bill, that plays into what Ron and I were saying, and he brought that up. He's like saying, the South, they just have different priorities. They have college football is king there, NASCAR is king there in the summer, and they did not, and I've heard this complaint from Birmingham Stallions fans on UFL groups. They complain about games being played on Sunday. NFL fans probably like, a lot of people are mind blown with that. They're kind of like, you're complaining about having a pro football game on Sunday. You stupid hillbillies. What's the matter with you? But it's like, but they would say it's like, no, we have things for Mother's Day. We have things for Easter. We have the Sunday brunches. I mean, Southern culture, especially like Southern church culture, that's a big deal down there. So it's a big conflict, as you know, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm looking at my notes right here, and I can see the pattern of Alabama's football in this. So in July, 31,000 people was at this game. It was a sellout crowd. 25,000 the next week. 30,000 in the July. 17, and then August it go lower. 17,000, and then 19,000 go up a little. But then when Roll Tide or War Eagle season and NFL season come, and this is around September 17th, 5,000 people is at this game. October 1st, 6,000 people. October 8th, 6,000, and then the last game of the year, 8,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
How can I say this? It shows that Birmingham and NFL and the college, NFL is so fixated to have a team in Alabama. They have the Senior Bowl there. They have a lot of winter meetings there. They really want Birmingham to make it happen. But like I say, Birmingham is an up and coming city like always, but it's not equipped for a professional team. And sorry for the Stallion fans of Birmingham with UFL, that a lot of people will stay home and watch Birmingham Stallions, but don't want to spend their hard-earned money to go to the games.
And it's interesting because with the recent USFL, the recent incarnation of it, they had the hub of Birmingham, in Birmingham, where, you had the Birmingham Stallions, but then you had also teams pretending they were from New Jersey, New Orleans, Philly, and Pittsburgh, and other cities playing, and Houston playing there. And it was like, they drew well for the Stallions games during those years. But then when they would have, like, the quote-unquote Houston Gamblers versus the quote-unquote New Orleans Breakers, there would be, like, 1,000 people there. And it was ridiculous because, you mentioned about ticket prices. USFL, they were saying it's only $10, and they would have, like, double headers. You could stay for both games. I'm like, man, I followed the Philadelphia Stars because I remember when they played one year in Baltimore, I was hoping they would come back, and actually play in Philadelphia and go up and see them. But it was like, I'm thinking, man, $10. I wish I could go down there. But if airfare wasn't so expensive, I probably would have done that, but or if they were a little closer, I could have driven down or whatever. But yeah, it's.
Well, I used to have a Pittsburgh Mauler page, and I was gonna do I was gonna follow the team and be their reporter and blah 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 blah. But during Facebook situation, a lot of people got angry there, and I had to bow my way out of there. And
Oh wow.
And I was gonna plan on going down the. It wasn't Legion Field. Actually, no, they had one game at Legion. It was during COVID time. They had a game at Legion Field and the other new stadium there.
Yeah, Protective Stadium, I think. That's where the Stallions play now, but yeah.
Yeah. I was going to go down there and catch the Pittsburgh Maulers play. And it was a shame because I was talking about these Stallions, hey, Birmingham. I talked to Stallion fans, tell me about the Barracudas. And they talking about this, hey, I wish, and this is a lot of people saying this, is they really wish the season would have started.
Right.
In March.
Right.
And they say
Makes
the
sense.
reason why they say March, once Alabama season about to start, it doesn't matter. If the Auburn season start, it doesn't really matter of the Barracudas. And the Barracudas was a very good team. They had Matt Dunnigan on that team. The guy used to be the TSN guy.
Okay, gotcha.
Birmingham was a hell of a team, and I really like Birmingham, and they just got destroyed in the playoff game against San Antonio, and I really thought Birmingham was going to go down to San Antonio and beat them and see Birmingham versus Baltimore, because that was the thing, and I just think how can I say it? I just think, even if you try to have a team right now, it won't work because Alabama take everything. It's like Memphis. Tennessee football will take over Memphis. Freeport, LSU football / Saints will take over. All these southern schools, the three things they love is God, high school football, and their college sports teams.
Right.
And you teaching them new sport, and yet the only new sport that actually surviving down the southern thing is soccer.
Right.
And I just think that was their problem, and I think it was a foolish way by the owners of CFL, the commissioner, think, okay, these teams don't have an NFL team. Let's build a CFL team. And I'm like, look. And they was going to move, and if you look at this, they were going to move Las Vegas to Jackson, Mississippi.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Jackson, they talk about, because they say, Jackson, Mississippi is the Vegas of the South. I'm like, what?
I think they do have, some big gambling and stuff, because I work with somebody there on vacation once. But, yeah. And Mississippi, parts of Mississippi's near Memphis, so I don't know. So it might.
Yeah. And that was, and that's what it is. I think that was the downfall of it, is lack of research. And
right.
That's what I say. And then a lot of people will be just we always have that Facebook question. Can the CFL have a USA team?
Right.
And I feel like it's a taboo saying that, and I feel like I don't think they want to. This is right now the CFL commissioner. They like the idea of it, but I don't think they want to put hard work to it. And like I say, you need to put this honestly, you need to find a way to find a common ground with the Canadian fans, and then worry about expansion in the USA. So
Right.
Birmingham. I really liked Birmingham. These jerseys was nuts back then. Just to let you know, like.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at them. Like the Birmingham had that big Barracuda, the fish head on the side, and then Memphis had like the dog head. I mean, it's like they had graphics on the front of the jersey, which you don't see much in football jerseys. But
yeah. only three teams in CFL had that, and it was Memphis, Toronto, and Birmingham. Toronto, you remember Toronto had the Argonauts logo on the side.
Right. Yeah. Did they have the ship then, or was it the shield with the A on it?
What's up? They had the A with the shield.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, it was like the modern day, not the 80s A.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was, I was like, what? You could get those at retro jerseys, you know?
Oh,
but
sure.
I wasn't too keen of that jerseys even back then. Because I'm a jersey collector, so
sure.
I'm like, it looked like practice jerseys to me.
Right.
You know, I'm trying to think what the one. You remember the original UFL?
Yeah.
With the Omaha.
The Nighthawks and all them. Yeah.
Yeah. They had what the Sacramento Mountain Lions, all that. Too.
Right, yeah, because Denny Green and Dante Culpepper. Yeah, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, it reminded me of those kind of jerseys. It was like insanely bad.
Oh yeah.
You know, but like I say, you know, Birmingham was a good team and all that. So
okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, coming up, Bill, you had mentioned in a previous episode you have a top 50, you worked hard, and you mentioned off the air, you worked real hard on a top 15 player list of all these teams. So definitely, let's go ahead. I don't know, maybe you should give them an iron like the All Madden team or something. I don't know, but
yeah, definitely. And I forgot to put one. I'm gonna replace this. I'm gonna freestyle it real quick.
Okay.
So after my thing, number 15, I will put Rodney Harden, defensive tackle in Memphis. I think he was a beast. He won a couple of CFL All-Stars and stuff like that. Number 14 will be Tim Cofield. He played for the Memphis. Once again, Memphis. I got two Memphis going at it. He defense end. He won Player of the Year a couple of times. Number 12, I said number 14.
15, 14.
Yeah, number 13.
Right.
13. 13 is Josh Miller, punter of Baltimore. It's not because he's from Pittsburgh and all that stuff. He was a decent punter from Baltimore.
He was a good player, yeah.
Yeah, he was a two-time all-star special teams. He won a Grey Cup, and he's also a big. He was all-pro in the NFL, so I put him on the list. Number 12, I have Irvin Smith, defensive back from Baltimore. He was not only the three-time All-Star, he also had a good illustrious career in Montreal too. So he also was a beast there too. So stuff like that. Number 11, Mike Kishak. He's a center. He played for Sacramento and also played for San Antonio. And also played a couple teams in the CFL afterwards. He was a beast, and I think he's one of the best centers of all time in CFL. So he won a couple Grey Cups and all that good stuff. Number 10, the cell phone man himself, Joe Horn. It's not because what he did in CFL. He also was a all-pro CFL when he was with Memphis. But he also was a 4-time All-Pro NFL player, so he was a beast, and his greatness would not be ignored.
Right.
Number 9, Alfred Payton, defensive end. He was playing for Baltimore. First, he played for Shreveport, but he played for Baltimore. Mm-hmm. This guy was I think he was the key to this defense of Baltimore Stallions. Guy was a beast. Guy was an animal. He also played a couple of seasons in CFL. He also played a couple seasons in NFL. But this guy I think he won most outstanding defense player of the year, and he was just an animal. Number 8, this is a guy he had his one great moment, and he was the MVP of the Grey Cup in '95 for Baltimore. Is Carl Anthony, not Carl Anthony Towns, just Carl Anthony. He set the tone in that game. He scored a touchdown, had a couple picks. He made Doug Flutie life a living hell. And that game was an inspiration for that Baltimore team to destroy Calgary, and he was the MVP. Number 7, I will throw out David Archer. David Archer, this guy was a gunslinger. He played for Sacramento. He had the lead in yards in quarterback for Sacramento in the first year, and also he almost broke the record of one game. He had 635 yards. Wow. It was insane when he was down in San Antonio. I love his game. I love the quarterback. I kind of wish he was flirting along getting a sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers in '94, but he did not sign with them, so that was the man. Number 6 is Freddie Childress, offensive line. He played for Shreveport and Birmingham, and he played a couple of teams in CFL. This guy is an offensive lineman, but guess what? He was a 4-time offensive line player of the year in the CFL. So this guy is one of the greats. Number 4, and this is a guy, the old school, this is the end of his career, was Matt Donegan. Number 5, Matt Donegan. Matt Donegan from Birmingham. He played in 1983. He played a bunch of teams. He was a 2-time Grey Cup champion, MVP of the Grey Cup one year. He was Canada. This guy was an animal, and even when it was with Birmingham, he was showing his ways. It reminded me of Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. He can't run, but he finds a way to throw the ball and win the game. Right. So, number 4, I put Tracy Ham. Tracy Ham from Baltimore. Tracy Ham, like I say, he reminds me a lot of Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick. And what's great about this guy in Baltimore, he not only he had that it factor. I love his game, and awesome player. And number 3, and this is just recently, I put it in there, Damian Allen from Memphis. Damian Allen is one of the great quarterbacks. I think he's one of the top 5 greatest quarterbacks in CFL history. The way he did, even though he didn't do so hot in Memphis, but the way he do it in BC and all the time, he finally won the Grey Cup. This guy was an animal. His brother, Marcus Allen, But as a quarterback, he was great in CFL. He was Canadian football. Number 2, even though he didn't do so hot, and he played for Las Vegas, Anthony Calvillo, quarterback. Anthony Calvillo, even though he showed humble beginnings, when he played Montreal Alouettes, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. That's including the NFL. The guy broke records. I think he had the most yards of all sports in football. And if you want to see CFL football at its finest, pull out an Anthony Calvillo tape. in the early 2008, 2007, and proved me wrong. You know.
Right.
And number one could be one of the greatest players in CFL history, and he played for the Baltimore. Well, he did play for Sacramento, but they didn't use him. Bad move. But he's one of the greatest running backs of all time is Mike Pringle from the Baltimore Stallions. What can I say about it? The man had retired jerseys up in Montreal. The guy had statues up in Montreal. Not only that, he broke records. He broke records in different teams. He broke records of all-time rushing yards. The guy, if Walter Payton was a Canadian football player, he would have been Mike Pringle. And this is coming from me personally, and people laugh at me about this. Like, three of the greatest running backs I ever saw was Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, and Mike Pringle. And Mike Pringle, how I say, even like the CFL says, this man changed games. And it's incredible how he played. And I kind of wish, I know he didn't play that much in the NFL. I kind of wish he'd want to put some of his stuff in there, because this guy was so awesome to watch. And I was excited every time I watched ESPN2 and when I was in my late 90s to see Pringle run. So that's my list. And my honorable mentions. I have Matt Goodwin from Baltimore. It's crazy about Matt Goodwin. He had a hell of a year. He was rookie of the year. And he retired after he won the championship.
Okay.
So he only played 2 years of football, and he was rookie of the year. I also have Billy Joe Tolliver, because he was a solid backup for the NFL. Who else I had? Rod Harris. Rod Harris was the wide receiver for Sacramento. He also was one of the guys that good. I also got honorable mention Andre Schroep. He played for Birmingham. He was a 2-time All-Pro, and that's about it. And that's my list.
That's a great list. Good job on it. Highly detailed. Yeah, definitely a lot of great names. I'd like to add one more honorable mention to that. Player named O.J. Brigance, who played for the Baltimore Stallions. Interesting footnote with him. He is the only player to win a Grey Cup and a Super Bowl for the same city. And he played well for both teams. He's retired. A lot of it, I think he retired at a young age because he suffers from ALS. And he and his wife have a big charity here, Phil, called the Brigance Brigade. And they do a lot of fundraisers with Ravens players, with Orioles players. I actually went to an event with AEW wrestlers that his foundation sponsored, and it was like a fundraiser for that. So he's doing a lot of charity in the area, and the thing is, it's like he's paralyzed. He actually has a computer-aided voice when he communicates to. They'll have him in the locker room and stuff. So, but it's a shame of what happened to him, but good for him to keep fighting the disease and trying to raise money for it. So
let me know when I can go to the donation, because my mom had ALS and has a very nasty disease.
No kidding.
Whatever it is, I support. Like I say, I support that cause all the time, and off there we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
And,
I'll send you a link, and also, folks, what I'll do, I'll post a link to that in the comments as well. Though it's a very worthwhile organization. So
and speaking of that, shout out to the family of Chris Johnson. We got our prayers for you. I know you don't play CFL and all that stuff, but we're thinking about you, and we'll join at behalf of CFL fans in the USA. We'll join you to fight with your disease right now.
Yeah, no doubt. All the prayers to family and friends. family, friends, and fans, of course. All right,
for
Phil.
sure.
Well, listen, we had one hell of a celebration of America in the CFL, or CFL in America, however you want to call it. This was a great episode, folks. This Independence Day weekend / Canada Day weekend, even though by the time this comes out, Canada Day will have already passed, but still, there's a lot of football to celebrate. Click onto our other video as well, where we're back to our normal format. We're going to talk about our picks in week 4, our feature picks in week 5, and talk about Kelowna and the Kelowna touchdown Kelowna experience and how great that was for the league. So, Bill, you have anything else to add before we wrap up? Or?
Yeah. And once again, make sure you watch our old videos, and make sure you watch stuff on Facebook. We got a lot of good content for my wife and my buddy Rick and a couple people on the Facebook page. Beautiful content. And once again, like I say, you come to the Pittsburgh area, and if you ask for Jacobs, this is the best place to go to get whiskey. And if you want to go get whiskey, we got over 300 different types of whiskey, the best food, and guess what? CFL fans. And if you want to get a discount to say you're part of the CFL fans of the USA, and we get a 10% discount at Jacobs in Pittsburgh, PA. And that's the home of the CFL fans in USA. So check out that place. Check out my man Bill Burke. He's a great bartender. He's a good friend, and guess what? He know how to talk about his team. So his team is the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. So
no kidding.
So he got a nice little melon head himself. So check it out. Go to Jacobs, and that's it. And you have a blessed Canada's Day, and you have a blessed 4th of July. So enjoy, be safe, and have a good time.
Well said. All right, folks, we'll talk to you on the next episode. Thank you for talking Canadian football with us.
Bye-bye.